welcome to my review of the Billy Gladstone brushes by Headhunters, a Canadian company. These are part of the Headhunters Hybrid Brush Collection. This is not a sponsored video. These were purchased from Dave's Drum Shop in Ottawa in March 2026, and at that time they were about $45 Canadian. Now, the original Billy Gladstone brushes had flares on either end that were different sizes. Headhunters redesigned that. They went with different gauge wires on either end. So, on the black end, it's the heavy gauge, 0.019 inches. On the light side, and that's the white end, 0.012 inch diameters. How's that compare to other brushes? Well, if we look at the Vic Firth Heritage brush and the Regal tip, they come in around 0.013 inches. It's not really listed for Vic Firth. They say they're light, but I find them about the same. And Regal tip lists them at 0.013. That's the same for the Terry Clark brushes by Headhunters. They're also 0.013 inch diameters. Now, I also own the Jazz Rock brushes by Headhunters. These are a little heavier. They come in at 0.016 inch diameters. Now, aside from that, another difference between the Headhunters and the others is the diameter of the grip. On these, 0.55 inches. That's slightly bigger than the 0.53 inches on the Regal tip and the Vic Firth Heritage brushes, which come in at 0.53. The Terry Clark brushes, they're a bit of a beast. They're in at 0.6875. I find them very heavy, and I do find that doing light brush work is a little more difficult with these. Still like the brushes, but not as much as the other ones. And the Jazz Rock, they're about the 0.53 inch diameter as well. Now, another difference on these with the Billy Gladstone is you have unlimited positions. You're not stuck like with the Heritage brushes and some of the others where you've got 3 positions. You've got the open, semi-open, and then a little more closed. So on the Billy Gladstone brushes, we can pick whatever position we want. They just slide. They seem to stay in place from wherever you put them. And you can do that on either end. Now, what are the advantages of the Headhunters? Well, what I just talked about. You've got different sizes on either end. You can get different textures when playing. I love that. Also, I do love the multi-position where you can just pick how wide you want that flare to be. There are some disadvantages. One is, if you're putting them away in a stick bag, this is a little more difficult because this is the position you're going to be in. If you can see this brush, and wires are sticking out both ends. Go to put them in a stick bag, you could bend them. So I don't put them in a stick bag. That's just me. I have no problem taking them in my toolbox that I take with me to every gig. The other disadvantage to these is there is no pull rod. Now, why is that a disadvantage? Because I like to use the pull rod on the cymbals. Can't do that with the Billy Gladstone. Is it a showstopper? Absolutely not. These are my favorite. Billy Gladstones are my favorite brushes. And if I need to have that pull rod, I bring a different set of brushes, pick them up while I'm playing, put them on, maybe take a stick, all kinds of things I can do. So I don't worry about those at all. Now, how's the sound compare? Well, we'll start with the light end on the Billy Gladstone brushes. So here's how the light end sounds. Now we compare that to, say, the Heritage brush. And then the Regal tip. Find them very similar to the Heritage brush, although the sweep's not as wide. And then we'll just take a look at the Jazz Rock because they have a heavier gauge. And as a reminder, here was the light side on the Billy Gladstone brushes. We can also listen to the heavier side. So onto the 0.019 inch diameters. And if we compare that to, say, the Heritage brush, which has a much thinner wire, now, the other big advantage to the Billy Gladstone brush is, of course, not just that you can use either end, which we just demonstrated, but we'll do it again for cross comparison of just the Billy Gladstone heavy end. That's the heavy gauge wire is 0.019 and now the 0.012. And how do those sound on the cymbal? Well, here's the light end. And now the heavier end, both ends. And just as a reminder, even on the cymbal, you can change that flare. You can also mix and match, which I really like. So if I'm going to do the cymbal, I might want to have the heavier side with the right hand playing the cymbal and the lighter side with my left hand. And you can also do that on the snare drum, obviously. You can switch them. You can have the lighter side, and the left hand could have the heavier side. Now, where I really like these is if I do a cross stick. So I can grab a stick here, and we can start with the heavier. And we could be doing, say, a rock tune, perhaps a Latin tune. And with the lighter gauge. Do like that lighter gauge quite often, especially if I'm doing some jazz, because it simulates the hi-hat a little bit better, I think. So we could be in here with the heavier gauge doing the same thing. And that's it. Billy Gladstone brushes, my favorite brushes these days, and these are new to me.